I'm going to make this video really brief because uh, I'm still looking for more information um, that I can, at this point, do a more updated video later. But with all of these different things like Operation Dark Winter, the power outage that they're talking about that might happen in the United States that recently was brought up, the Walmart FEMA camps, China UN situation. Also, if you don't know, that 5G is being put up everywhere covertly. Right before we had this outbreak with the China thing, I'm trying to use code words so that this video doesn't get taken down. But if you notice, China was putting out 5G right before that, and Trump at the time was trying to rush and put 5G everywhere. You can look that up yourself, or just remember when he was like, we need to put 5G up everywhere. Then not too long after that, that's when we have the 19 situation. So I'm trying to make this video real quick to tie some things together, as well as give you guys some places where you can listen to more detailed information until I get enough information compiled where I can make a more detailed video. One thing I do want to say is I actually seen Jade Helm, the breakdown of it, and I had downloaded it on my phone before when I was actually serving in the military, because I was in special operations, and it was just interesting. We were getting, I do a lot of research different places, and at this time, it was around 2015, I was in special operations, and they were talking about the Texas Guard being alerted at this operation called Jade Helm. Now, the internet wasn't as scrubbed as it is now, so it's very hard to find anything about it in detail. There's probably some YouTube videos that can confirm some of the information that I'm saying, but there's certain details that I remember that stuck out when I was reading the actual breakdown of the training operation. Some of the things were that this is all being done by special operations. They were clearing out Walmarts, using those as detention centers, and working with local law enforcement. And then also what I remember seeing, and I really hate saying this without physically having the information in front of me, but I remember reading, it said during the war game that their enemies would be people sworn to the Constitution. I'm about to put all of this into perspective on why I believe I did see that, and that information is imperative to what's going on now. So we have the Great Reset that's supposedly supposed to happen, and I will use code words and say things a little bit weird so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't kick this video off, because there's a lot that I have to go through and kind of make this quick, short, but get all the information, details, and put two and two together for you. So right now they're trying to do the Great Reset. The UN's also doing the whole thing where they're trying to work together to, I guess, make a one world government, one world order. A lot of Americans at this time are saying, and you'll see a lot of these comments as well as on these Jade Helm videos, oh, that's stupid. Why would they do an operation against American forces on American soil? Why does any of this make sense? So because we're American, that's the whole point. We have the ideals in keeping America how it is. Americans are not mentally thinking about the possibility of the flag being changed to a UN flag, etc., even fathoming that happening. And so I'm about to put into perspective on what's going on and how that could happen. So for starters, Operation Dark Winter is something that you can look up, and Biden used those words for a reason. So during Operation Dark Winter, they were doing training exercises where pretty much they were using the military to help, I guess you can say, control a outbreak situation scenario, such as the 19 situation that we have in currently, and there's supposedly a worse wave, etc. This ties a lot into Jade Helm and the other things I'm about to speak of, because when you put all of these things together, it makes a lot more sense. So during Dark Winter, if I remember correctly, there's shortages on water, shortages on food, and there's a lot of chaos. And then there's also disease outbreaks. And then I think a lot of disease outbreaks are caused by nutrition issues, water sources not being there, etc., etc. So when they just recently brought up this power outage, that's one thing that could knock out all the power, that could knock out all the running water, that can knock out everything. And at that point, blackout communications, and at that point cause a situation where it's very hard to keep track of people. There'll be mass casualties, and all the lights will be out, food, water, all of that will be scarce. There won't be communications where nobody can really communicate with each other to get food out anywhere from point A, point B. There would be a mass chaos. There'll be mass casualties because of people dying of starvation, not having clean water, and then all of these riots, etc. So that combines the dark winter with the blackout. What also combines it with this entire situation is people were like, hey, around 2015, they also had the rollout of those huge coffins. This is all the things that I was keeping eyes on while I was serving and putting two and two together. And now, 2020, a lot of things are fitting together perfectly. So when you have mass casualties, you need places to put them. When you have mass casualties where people don't know who's dying, and on top of that, if they label it a 19 death, then you don't have a open casket funeral. You don't have any of that. They just discard the body pretty much. That would explain the 300,000 size coffins that could fit 3 people in. But not only that, I'm going to get into the camps in a second, because that ties into the FEMA camps and the martial law and the Jade Helm situation. People, like I said, they're not using critical thinking when it comes to how, or they don't know how a lot of the government is set up, even when it comes to the military. There's certain branches and certain sectors of the military that's sworn to the people, the Constitution, humanitarian rights, etc. But when you have a government that is putting rules that go against that, you might have a break in what I would say how the power is split, the whole Civil War situation. What happens when you have some people that are sworn to the government, which in Jade Helm, it was all special operations that were doing a joint operation on United States soil using the Walmarts as FEMA camps, and also detainment centers. So what happens when you have situations where you have guys that are sworn to the government, and don't get me wrong, we all wear the flag, but different jobs, different sworn, you're sworn in different things. So if one side's sworn to the government and one side's sworn to protecting the people, what do you think happens when somebody comes in and says, hey, we're gonna take these people by force because of this or that, and some soldiers and stuff saying, nah, that doesn't sound right, we're supposed to be protecting these people, and the other group is saying, well, we're sworn to the government, and the government wants one world power, one world government, so all of that doesn't matter. The other guys are saying, well, the Constitution, and these other guys are saying, well, we don't care about the Constitution. That's why different parts of the military is set up the way it is, so that there isn't a way that you can just have a coup, because we're all sworn in different levels for different things. At one time, we were working for the same thing, but when it comes to a situation where you are on U.S. soil, that's when things get very gray. The movie Gray State's actually a very great example of the guillotines and all that stuff. These are acts against humanity, and these are acts against United States citizens. There's a lot of people that have served and that are serving that would never do that. But there are people that, like I said, wear American flags, but they are for the government, they're not for the people. So that's where you have your split in armed forces, right from wrong, different ideals. But regardless, the reshaping of America would be a situation in which you have that. This would also be a way for them to handle militias and all of this stuff and take away weapons and stuff. So that kind of ties into the Jade Helm situation. Jade Helm, some of the breakdown of it, and I'm going to put video, I'm gonna put pictures, or you will see pictures of some of the things you can check out, a little bit more details, so that you can kind of hear what I'm saying and then look at what you've already known, and then also look up some other things, and then you can say, oh, well, that all adds up. So when it comes to Jade Helm, Special Operations was doing all of this on the United States soil. People wondering, oh yeah, they're training for their job overseas. As you'll see in some of these other videos, some other people will stress this exact situation. Me being in the military as well, we always train where we're going to, or train as closely as to where we're going to be at. So when you are talking about, hey, we're going to be doing privately, we're going to be training on privately owned areas, and we're also going to be using this Walmart, that would make sense. Mass food shortages, we already heard about the Walmart FEMA camps. So what does that mean? Those are decampment camps. They were already doing that and training for that in 2015 in Jade Helm. I keep bringing up Jade Helm because a lot of people either A, haven't heard about it, or B, they keep saying, oh, that's stupid, this doesn't make any sense. Well, when you make sense of it and put it all together, it all makes sense. So the whole thing that was really interesting about Jade Helm is that they're training on U.S. soil. Texas Guard is also its own independent thing. It protects Texas. That's why it's very interesting locations in which they dropped the soldiers off and did their training. The reason why also the Texas Guard was watching them, because Texas Guard is, yes, they're part of the United States, but they're still protecting Texas. So that would be a large issue if they were going to try to take over by force. And by take over by force, I mean if they're trying to recraft the United States, put it a part of the UN, put it a part of the Great Reset, and put us all on the same footing as the rest of the world, such as Australia and all these other places that are on lockdown and martial law, it would all make sense on why some of us would either A, take the arms, or B, disagree with what they're saying. So regardless, you have a situation where you have forceful removal of United States citizens from their homes, as well as disarming them, which breaks our amendments and constitutional rights. That's why I said there would be a split in the military. But there's also a crazy thing where you have FEMA having control over a lot more than usual when they're in a martial law situation. FEMA is also going to be backed by the UN. That's where some of these talks about the invasion of China and Russia and stuff come in, because the blue helmets, they're not going to care about who you are. They're not going to care about you being a United States citizen. They're not going to hear anything about no constitution. They're going to follow orders, just like Special Operations, the guys that are doing Jade Helm. Jade Helm, if I remember correctly, the reason why I said about the Constitution, all the people sworn to the Constitution, if you are military or if you are prior military, they might come after you first during the blackout, because you'll hear some of the guys talking in some of the videos that I posted about how Green Berets are trained for in conventional warfare. meaning that they are trained to train other individuals to fight back when it comes to governments trying to take control over specified area. They're going to probably come from military and military people that are prior service, people that are not special operations, because they're sworn to the Constitution. They're sworn to protect the people here. If that's going against what the government's trying to do, that's where the fight between powers comes into play. So what ends up happening is you have your detainment centers in which they'll be forcefully throwing military in, sworn to the Constitution, which I think they also have said in the write-up of the official jade helm that you can't really find anywhere anymore. Like I said, I'm going to try to see if I can find my information that I physically had in my hands at the time, but that was such a long time ago. But regardless, a lot of these details all add up. Detainment centers are also for those who do not want to get into the Great Reset and the One World system. You can also find information about that everywhere as well. It all adds up. It all makes sense. You have United States citizens on their soil, on their property, and they say, hey, I don't want to do what you want me to do. That's why you have FEMA, that's why you have the UN, and that's why you have these guys that trade for jade helm. So, Dark Winter all ties into all of this. So, this is my synopsis of how things could play out. You have your blackout caused by Dark Winter, which Biden actually said by himself, Dark Winter. You have Dark Winter come out, then you have, the same second wave that Bill Gates was as well talking about. And now you have no communications. You have water and all this stuff scarce. You have mass panic and outrage and chaos. There's no supplies being brought in, etc. So during Jade Helm, when they're doing these operations where they said unconventional warfare, it's hard to get supplies, etc., that would explain Operation Dark Winter. During Operation Dark Winter, they also could be taking out anybody that could resist, which means militias, which means military that is sworn to the Constitution, because at that time there'll be no communications, but they will have communications because they planned for this. So now you're talking about all the areas that they're going to be attacking are all military heavy bases. They did Jade Helm in a lot of the places where we have some of our biggest bases. North Carolina, Special Operations Base, Texas, one of the biggest bases that we have, period. Arizona, Nevada. These are Air Force, naval bases in Florida. These are all the locations where you'd have soldiers sworn to the Constitution. So at that point, while communications are out, they can either go on a killing spree, cleanup spree. They could go on a join us or go into the camp type situation. Nobody would know. No one would be able to communicate, and no one would be able to designate a counter strike. Then you bring in UN. The UN can at that point come in with FEMA as well, because FEMA will be acting as the new commander-in-chief, because all powers are at that point given to FEMA. So if you have FEMA, add that to the equation. Now you have the UN working with FEMA for a disaster zone, and I say that with quotations, because at that point everything would be on martial law because of the outbreaks, as well as the food shortages, as well as the power outages, as well as the people trying to fight for the people. So now you have your situation where you have your guys that have trained against and in the locations in which they will have their unconventional warfare against the soldiers, prior service, militias, etc., and the people that are not on their plan. So during Dark Winter, they could pretty much take out all of their resistance. When everything comes back on, there'll be mass casualties, big depopulation that they wanted, and at that point, they can force the Great Reset on you, because, hey, everybody's gone that's gonna resist with firearms. They probably took everything at that point as well. They probably say it's for the greater good while the lights are out, while there's no supplies, while people are dying of starvation, while people are diseased. There will be nobody, there'll be people missing because, like I said, if they blame it on 19, regardless of if it's a bullet or it's really a disease, they will have places to put all those bodies, the 300,000 coffins that are big enough for 3 people. So now you have a good big way of taking care of a bunch of bodies without anybody knowing. And then now you can give the Great Reset, in which you won't own anything and you'll be happy, like the 2030 agenda says, which entails you anyways giving up all your rights, giving up all your property, and making it so that you don't own anything. So this is the reason why I was trying to keep this brief, because if you look into all of these operations, the FEMA camps, the Walmarts, it all makes sense. Walmart's not going to have food. They're going to be supplying the UNs for the UN and the FEMA and the guys that are working with the government to make the one world government. They're going to be throwing anybody that doesn't agree with them into there. There's not going to be food in Walmarts anymore. We already seen how they already got them controlled and created so that it looks like, and they also got scanners for these implantable chips, etc. So there you have even the people that believe in the shadows that are controlling things. However you want to put it into play, that's how the United States could fall. They have that video game where they even talk about the Civil War in the United States. There's a lot of different things that they have put out where it talks about the Civil War and stuff like that. But like I said, from a guy coming from special operations and have been watching what they have been doing, it all makes sense to add up all of these operations, not putting all of their plans into play at one time, but practicing pieces of it at different times. It all makes sense. Like I said, the shift of power will be from the president to FEMA slash the UN. And at that point, humanitarian operations also have guns behind it. So your constitutional rights will not be upheld. And if you scream out the Constitution, they will not care. That's why all of this is being put into play. They're practicing overseas where everybody doesn't have guns because everybody doesn't have guns. The United States is going to be the last stronghold, and as you see, they have it planned out where it'll be quite calculated, but they can do it, where they can make it so that mass casualties and control is put in motion with one swift plan. Very interesting as well how long they were training for Jade Helm, because a lot of it was around the same time frame that they said a power outage would be done. And of course, it'd be a lot easier if they were to blame it on another country that's already a part of the UN, etc. Because regardless, their whole plan is to depopulate the entire world. So it would all make sense for them to blame it on somebody and have an all-out situation. And then regardless, like I said, you take out all the people that are fighting for what they believe to be their flag. You have mass casualties everywhere. It's a lot easier to bring in your one world government, one world order. And at that point, it's all the resistance is gone. People are already chipped up. People don't have a way to defend themselves. People don't have a way to be able to eat, grow their own food. They won't have properties. So that's what I'll say as of now. And if you don't know Christ, I would say to get to know him as soon as possible, because it's all been said in the Bible that this would happen. And if that's not enough for you, you can look up all of the operations that I just spoke of. The FEMA camps, the Walmart FEMA camps, the Operation Dark Winter, Jade Helm, what happens when the UN, FEMA, etc. Get power, when it's martial law, as well as when it's a disaster area, what happens. You put all those together, and you got the perfect storm. When, I don't know, maybe when Trump was saying there's a storm coming, I don't know. Is that what he's talking about? Because, I mean, that sounds like the perfect storm to me. Everybody that thinks they can defend against this, that's why they put the 5G up everywhere. 5G is also from China. That's very interesting. You can look that up as well. China's the first one to really develop the 5G. So all of these new upgrades to your cell phone service, all that stuff, it's already been done in China. That's where they have all of their, all of these cameras everywhere. And that's where they have, and these are also weapons systems. If you, I try not to get into that too much because people don't listen when it comes to information. They want to hold on to what they feel like will make them comfortable and safe. But for you, those that really want to learn a little bit more, I used to work for TSA. One interesting thing I can say is I used to have contractors refuse to get into the full body scanner, and they said, I'm not getting in that thing. And I never understood why. And we used to have people that fell over and died for unknown purposes and reasons. And we all were standing around these machines all the time. And what we were allowed to say was that it's a machine that uses millimeter wave technology. The millimeter wave technology is also used for looking for things. So when it comes to them talking about a grid in which they can watch you through walls, everything like that, it's very definitely true, because in the airport, they use it for when you're standing in full body scanner. That is using millimeter wave technology. We had that back in 2010, and we were testing it for a very long time. I believe that was their testing phase for the millimeter waves. And at that point, they were going to, you know, I've noticed the increase of the particulates in the sky, the chemtrails, etc. That would be another topic if anybody wants to hear my thoughts on all of that. But the main video for this would be to combine the reasons why Operation Dark Winter, Jade Helm, FEMA camps, what happens when FEMA, etc., gain control, the UN, go to disaster areas and gain control over those areas. What those coffins that you've seen going everywhere, also these unmarked United States vehicles, military vehicles, those are all going to be controlled by FEMA and UN. That's why they don't have American flags on them, and that's why they are also all stationed in really interesting locations, because when you drop troops off from somewhere else to help with disaster zones and stuff like that, you don't mark the vehicles, because all they got to do is put that blue helmet on, throw that blue tape on it, whatever. So if you guys want me to make more videos, I can. I like I said, I don't care. I don't care about follows. I don't care about any of that. I really wanted to help people out understanding what's what and why is why, because when people can see the bigger picture, it can make them understand what their choices are, and also what's going on and when and why. So I would say share this if you can to those who will listen. There's a lot of things I could say, but my whole point is not to, like I said, get any type of attention. I want people to know about this information. That's the only reason why I made this video. There was nobody out there that I was running into that had enough information, put all of these things together, and they were always worried about one piece of the puzzle. But there's a lot of things that go together to make this plan. You know, the B system, IBM, making sure everybody's in a one world system, all of that stuff has been pre-told. They've been saying all these pieces. The guillotines, they're on military bases for a reason. Probably gonna be, like I said, I can talk about that later if anybody wants me to, but I'm going to drop these other videos that you can hear more about Jade Helm. But if you want me to make another video, just comment below, and thank you for watching. And like I said, if you don't know Christ, that's the way out. There's even as a military trained guy, I don't see many options out there when it comes to defense against this. They got 5G towers up everywhere. They can literally fry you with that. They have sound weapons. I've already I've worked with some of them. Those speakers can blast your eardrums from over a mile away. These are the toys, man. These are the stuff that they haven't even brought out. They have their stuff that they haven't even brought out. I have never seen. I wasn't combat arms. I was psyop. My job was to mentally manipulate large populations, and so I already seen them doing it on the news. A lot of those things, that the fake news, all that stuff is real. When I was serving, they passed a law where fake news could be considered real news, and we used to have crisis actors and stuff like that in PSYOP. You can look that up. That's all real. Our MOS, our job description, was even originated from Nazi Germany. I hope none of these words get this video kicked off, but when they're talking about Operation, I believe, Paperclip Mockingbird, something like that, when they took them scientists and brought them over here, they taught special operations that. That's why I said, when it comes to what we're sworn into and what we're sworn to do, it's two different things. Some of them will do everything for the good of the government and not care about human life. And some of us, we will fight for human life. And that's the unfortunate thing. That's why I said all of this adds up. It all makes sense. And it all makes sense how they plan it out. If you guys want me to expound more, like I said, I will make another video. But please be respectful with your comments, questions, concerns. And like I said, I will answer anything that I can. There's a lot of things that I've seen, a lot of things that I've heard. And it's just hard to get the information out because I don't get on YouTube for me to get publicity or anything like that. I really love information and finding out what's happening around the world around me. And unfortunately, like I said, I guess this is my role because there's a lot of people that don't know things that I know. And so I'm going to end the video with that. Thank you for watching.